Welcome to the country. So we're up at Black Kettle again here today. Got a couple special guests with me. I got Tammy and Letty Ray's here. I got a Three Musketeers and a Mountain Dew. And I'm gonna walk around a little bit and try to find antlers today. Spending the day up at Black Kettle just hanging out, enjoying our time. We don't get too many days off together anymore, so we're just gonna spend the day up here just reminiscing, getting Letty Ray out and get her some exercise, just enjoying some time together. So we're going to get out here on the first spot and walk up through here. I've got a couple of stories here I want to tell you. One that Tammy, I know she remembers, was up here hunting and kind of cold and rainy that day. I'll tell that story of a deer she shot right here as we're fixing to get out. So anyway, I'm going to get started and get up through here, see if I can find an antler today. Give me a minute to get started and then I'll be right back. Okay guys, so we're going to start today in a spot where I've hunted a lot. This is one of the trees that we hunt out of all the time. So we're going to ease up this fence line right here and see if we can find an antler. Get on the other side of the tree and I'll show you guys kind of the setup. Then I got a little story I'll tell you. Come on, Letty. So if you can see right there where that branch has been cut off, that's kind of where I put my stand. So it's been a few years ago now. I don't know exactly when or what year it was, but me and Tammy was up here doing a little early season scouting, and we happened to drive by this spot here kind of at dusk, kind of right at dark, and noticed two bucks standing right there by that tree. So we made a plan, got in here the next morning and hung a stand up in there and planned to sit there that afternoon, see if we can get lucky and see those bucks again. So we got in and sit. It was about 4 o'clock and we've been sitting there for a couple hours and hadn't seen anything. And then off to the left back in here, I could hear deer, or I could hear a noise like a deer rubbing the trees or something, you know, kind of faint, but I could hear it. And sure enough, it wasn't just a few minutes later, one of those bucks stepped out, and then the other buck was right behind it. And fortunately for us, one of those bucks came right in to where we were sitting right in front of that tree back there. Letty's not wanting to leave Tammy, so she's crossing the fence, I think. Anyway, one of those bucks walked right in front of the tree, probably about 10 yards or so. Tammy had her crossbow, and she took a shot at that deer, made a perfect shot, shot it right through the ribs, and it just tore out of there off into that tall grass. And the other buck, which was, I don't know, 20 or 30 yards behind that one, it actually didn't know what was going on. So I had an opportunity to draw my bow and take a shot at that deer. And unfortunately, I missed the shot on that deer. But I got a picture of Tammy with that deer, and what I'll do is I'll cut the video here and I'll show you a picture of that deer she killed. And I want to think that was the last deer she shot up here. She quit hunting soon after that. Once we started raising the deer and stuff, she kind of quit hunting. But that was a neat memory for us that we made together, sitting in that tree and kind of making a plan and seeing those deer and sitting up on them and then actually getting one of them killed and an opportunity to kill both of them. But anyway, I'll cut the video right here. I'll show you a picture of her with that deer, and then I'll be back. Okay, guys, so as I'm easing up through here, it reminds me of another story about this spot. Again, this was a few years ago. And me, Tammy, and my dad come up here during rifle season. And we had made a plan to kind of hunt this spot where he was going to come in on the east side where we just started. And then me and Tammy was going to drive around on the west side and come in from the west. And then we was going to kind of meet up in the middle. So I let him out right here at dark, or it was still dark in the morning. And me and Tammy drove around on the other end, waited till it got daylight, and we started easing up through there. And it was not too long after daylight, you know, the shots start going off everywhere. You know, we're hunting on public land and there's people everywhere up here. And there was a shot that sounded pretty close, but like I said, there was quite a few people hunting different parts of this same section. So we just kept easing up through there, and we got to about the midway point, and I could see my dad. He was standing up there, kind of just waiting on us to get up through there. And when we got there, turns out the shot that I heard was a shot that he took on a really nice buck. I think probably the biggest buck he ever killed up here. And it run up through there pretty close to where he was standing. He made a perfect shot on that deer and shot it right through the ribs. And we were about halfway between where we parked the truck and where we let him out. So it was, I guess, about a half a mile from the pickup. And like I said, this deer it didn't have the largest antlers of, you know, some of the bucks I've seen up here, but body wise, this thing was huge. It was, I don't know, you know, we don't weigh the deer or anything, but it had to be 200 plus. I mean, it was a really big, mature buck. And me and my dad got on the antlers on each on one side, and we started pulling on that thing. We'd pull a little bit and have to rest. It looks like something there. Might be an old Might be a deer. There's the jawbones, but I don't see the skull. Let me ease up through here and see if we can figure out what that is. Maybe find a skull. But anyway, we start dragging on that deer. I drag a little, I'd pull a little bit, and then Tammy'd get on there and help my dad pull a little bit. It's like a leg bone. And it was hard going through this stuff. You can see how thick this stuff is. We couldn't pull more than 20 or 30 yards at a time and have to rest. Well, eventually we got to the point where we were just exhausted. We couldn't go any further. We couldn't get this deer out between the three of us. And Tammy decides she's done. She's just gonna head back to the truck. And me and my dad are resting there. We're gonna take a break and start pulling on this deer. Try to get him out of there. There's one rub the tree there. And here, pretty soon, we'll see the pickup coming up the road there. Now the roads are kind of closed now. They used to let people drive in on this, but they've closed most of the roads, all except for access to the windmills and stuff for the farmers who are leasing it to run their cattle on. They're allowed to drive their vehicles in here, but nobody else is. So she got back to the pickup, took it upon herself to take the fence down and drive the pickup up to get the deer, because we were really struggling. We could have got that deer out eventually, but man, it was going to take a long time to get that deer through all this stuff. And I'm not sure, exactly if that was the last deer my dad shot up here, but I'm thinking that was the last buck that he had ever shot up here. That was kind of when his it's a pack rat nest with a bone in it. It's kind of when his knees and his back and everything started really bothering him to the point where he couldn't get out and walk anymore. So he didn't come up here and hunt as much, and especially he didn't come up here too much without me. But I remember that struggle trying to get that deer out, and the fact that when we made the plan originally, I wanted to come in on this side where I let my dad out, and I was wanting to let him out on the other side, and somehow that got turned around and he got to come down this way, and he ended up getting a shot at that buck. And looking back on it now, I'm glad it happened that way. I would have loved to shot that buck. I would have loved Tammy to shot that buck, but just another memory you kind of start recalling. Of course, I remember a lot of this stuff over the years, but when you get to these spots and you remember things that happened there, it's kind of what's special about this place for me, is all the memories that I made up here hunting. And that's just a couple of memories I have of this spot. I've got so many stories I could tell here on this spot, because I've killed multiple deer here and hunted here for years, but that's just a couple of the ones that's more meaningful. Most of them is when I'm by myself, but when you're up here hunting and you got somebody with you, it kind of makes the memories a little bit better, because somebody experienced it with you. Even though I spend a lot of time up here by myself and hunt by myself a lot, especially nowadays with Tammy not hunting and my dad not able to get out and do anything. I'm going to spend a lot more time up here by myself, I'm sure. So anyway, there's a couple of stories I have of this particular little spot here. I sure would like to find an antler up through here though, but anyway, I'm going to keep easing up through here. I'm going to get about halfway or so and then turn around and go back. Well, we got something else. A couple of jawbones. Part of a skull. No idea what that could be. But yeah, I'm almost to the end of this, so I'm going to get up here and turn around. What's that? That's a tree root. If we don't find anything here, we'll be going around and driving around on the west side of this and walking up that tree row. So I'm just going to keep easing up through here. I'll be back. Okay guys, so I pulled up to the next spot right here. I'm going to walk this field edge and see if I can find an antler laying where a deer might have jumped the fence. Come on, lady. So I'm doing a little bit of an experiment here. Letty doesn't want to leave Tammy, so she's going to sit in the truck this time and see if Letty will go with me. Come on, Letty Ray. So this is a section here where I don't have a lot of memories of killing deer in this section. Down on the corner on the south end of this is where I killed my first deer with a black powder rifle. So that's kind of a cool little memory that I have in this section, is killing my first deer with a black powder rifle here. I was with my dad that day too. And it's one of those things where I don't black powder hunt hardly at all. Maybe I've been 2 or 3 times. And my dad liked to do it, so I was just up here with him. And just kind of hanging out with him. If he shot a deer, I could help him get it to the truck or whatever. That wind is really kicking up. I hope you guys can hear me okay. But yeah, I was just up here with him, and he ended up shooting a deer, and then I ended up shooting a deer using his gun, because I don't even have a black powder gun. So what I'm hoping is these deer may be crossing the fence right here onto this field, and in the process of jumping back and forth across the fence might have dropped an antler. So I want to walk this field edge out, see what I can come up with. Looks like Letty's going to follow me since Tammy stayed in the truck. So let her sniff around. Maybe she can find an antler. Anyway, I'm going to ease up through here. If I happen to come up on something, then I'll be back. Okay, guys, so I continued to walk this field edge till I got to this little group of trees that leads out to this field. And try to zoom in. You guys can see right there. Can you see that? That sure does look like an antler. Let's go over and find out. Come on, lady. That's exactly what that is, guys. Holy cow, our first antler of the day. Let's see if Letty can find it. Come on, Letty. See it, Letty? Get it. Get it. She touched it. Holy cow, look there, guys. Get around here. First antler of the day. Second for the year. No, leave it. Looks like a little 4x. That may be last year's antler too. Holy cow. Thank you, Lord. Man, we put in a few miles today to find this one. Just making more memories up here. You know, this is what it's all about. And go home, take this guy and put him on the pile. And every time I see this antler or hold this antler, I'll remember the day of, you know, just having some family time up here with Tammy and Letty and getting to hang out and enjoy some peace and quiet and enjoy nature. That's what it's all about. So anyway, this video is getting kind of long, so I think I'm going to call it right here. Second antler of the season. I'm going to try to get out here, like I said, and do as much of these antler videos as I can before, you know, the spring turkey rush gets here. But yeah, second antler of the year. Pretty cool deal. I want to thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll be back.